Hello everybody, welcome to the online lecture. In this online lecture, I am going to discuss T.S. Eliot's criticism. In the postmodern era, criticism becomes an indispensable field of study, especially in the area of research. Moreover, it is essential to know about the history of English criticism. Hence, in this lecture, I would like to focus on T.S. Eliot's views on criticism and his other concepts. Eliot is one of the prominent writers in English literature. He was born in 1888 and died in 1965. Being a prolific writer, he has written poems, plays, and critical essays. For his contribution to literature, he has got Nobel Prize in 1948. Most of his critical essays were lectures which were delivered in various occasions. Later, his essays were collected and published as books. Some of his notable criticisms were The Sacred Woods, Homage to John Dryden, For Lancelot and Reeves, Selected Essays, and so on. For his ideas on criticism, he has leaned on classism to the great extent. So, being a classist, he has followed the footprints of Aristotle. In his essays, he emphasizes orderliness both in art and in criticism. Likewise, he wanted English criticism to be placed between classicism and romanticism. Classicism stands for principles to be followed or adopted, whereas romanticism stands for individual liberty. But Eliot strongly advocates for classicism in his criticisms. Then, the function of criticism. According to T.S. Eliot, the function of criticism is to be fact-finding, and the duty of a critic is to elucidate the fact rather than interpreting the text. Then, true criticism. Let us see what is criticism from T.S. Eliot's point of view. According to T.S. Eliot, criticism is about something other than itself. He says that criticism interests by itself rather than by what it says about a work of art. Moreover, criticism should not be a mere interpretation in which the critic puts himself into the work. A true criticism is the critic has to elucidate the fact and let the readers to form the correct judgment. Therefore, true criticism is the institution of a scientific inquiry into the work of art. It analyzes a work to the point of discovering the principle underlying its composition. Like a botanist or a zoologist, the critic has to dissect the work to find the principles that make what it is, rather than finding interesting thing in it. So far, we have seen Eliot's views on criticism. Now, let me discuss his theories and other concepts. Eliot's impersonality of poetry is one of the remarkable contributions to the literary criticism. Even he himself calls it as the impersonal theory of poetry. He says that poet and the poem are two different things because the feelings or emotions that arises from the poet mind is entirely different from the feelings that are expressed in the poem. To elucidate this, he examines the relation of the poet to the past and the relation of the poem to its author. First, let us see the relation of the poet to the past. In this regard, Eliot says that past is never dead. It lives in the present also. For instance, if we approach a poet with an open mind, we shall find that the poet was inspired by his ancestor, from whom he has borrowed ideas for his writings. Like giving and take policy, the poet takes something from the past and gives it to the present in a new form. So the past and present fuse into a new compound, then it is a continual process in which an artist has to sacrifice his personality. He has no opportunity to express his personality because he was influenced by the past. Then the next concept, the relation of the poem to its author. According to T.S. Eliot, there is no connection between the poet's personality and the poem. The poet in his poem expresses varied feelings which were collected from his ancestor. He may partly use his own experience, but he cannot completely exposes his own personality. So, the poetry is not an expression of personality, but is an escape from the personality. So, an honest criticism has to judge a poem alone, not the poets. Then his other concepts. Eliot has also put forth other two important concepts, namely objective correlative and dissociation of sensibility. Let us discuss one by one. The concept objective correlative occurs in the essay Hamlet and his Problem in Sacred Wood. The concept objective correlative indicates the transformation of feelings into an object. Eliot says that a poet cannot directly transfer his feeling to the mind of the audience. So for that, the poet has to transfer his feelings into an object like picture. Then it is easy to transfer his feeling to the mind of the audience. This is what T.S. Eliot suggests to transfer the feelings into the mind of the readers. Then the concept dissociation of sensibility occurs in the essay on the metaphysical poets in selected essays. Eliot uses the concept to distinguish good poetry from bad poetry. He says that it is a recreation of thoughts into feelings. It is essential to transfer the poet's thought into feelings to steal its way into the reader's heart. In this regard, Eliot appreciates Chapman and Johnson, who have transferred their thoughts into feelings in their writings. Further, he says dissociation of sensibility occurs when the poet's thought is unable to convert into feelings. And finally, Eliot says that a poet should not versify his ideas, but he has to transfer them into sensations. Thank you all.